knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I would slap you.
Go ahead, make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Barack Hussein Obama, he's back. Another 4 years of a nightmare. It continues. It's amazing, folks. I'm going to give my commentary on it a little later here as we move forward through the show. I have with me my good friend out of Wichita Falls, Texas, Bill Lockwood. Pastor Bill Lockwood is here. Bill, why do you think the people re-elected a guy with the unemployment rate being at least 7.8 the last I heard, in the black community 14.3? The economy is just at its worst. We're in debt more so than any other time on history. Unemployment, I'm being told now, is 7.9. Overseas, we're known as weak and inferior and demoralized. Why do you think Americans re-elected this guy? Has this ever happened before?
Well, I've asked myself that last night and this morning, but I think that there are several things to it. But number one, the media's played a big role in it. They have covered for him, and they have pushed him, and they have really campaigned for him by refusing to look at his record. We don't even know the man. We don't even know we don't even know about his college records and all of the records that articles he wrote in the past. We don't even know. We had no vetting process, and we still have had none. But I think the real issue, though, in spite of that, Jesse, is that we have become an immoral and irreligious people.
Yes.
And it goes to the heart of people. And I tell you what, I'm going to say this. I'm a little tired of people telling me that they're a Christian and voting for a man who, number one, stands for abortion on demand.
Yeah.
Number two, stands for homosexuality. And number three, stands for looting and stealing from one class of society and giving to another, which is immorality. And I think that it's our irreligion and our lack of real Christian conviction in this country. I think that's what the cause is.
I think you're right about that. I was looking at some of the results this morning, and the number of young people who voted for Obama, young women who are not married, voted for him. The blacks brought him in. The Hispanics up in Colorado voted for him. And yeah. I just think it's one of the primary reasons is that we literally have a more society in America. It's not based on principles. It's not based on what is right. The liberals have succeeded at demoralizing the young from the day of birth until they go through college they have succeeded at that. Right.
That's exactly right. And you know what, I remember reading an article from an author in the 1950s and 60s by the name of Garrett. That was his first and last name. And one of his essays was called The Revolution Was. And he was referring to the time of Franklin Roosevelt. And he says, we've already gone through the revolution in this country, and it was quiet while you slept. We have revamped this country. We've turned it upside down. And we've got it where now the government is going to mandate everybody's individual lives. And Obama's simply putting the capstone on that. And I feel like that's really what's happening here. But it's turned us upside down and made us that we can't even think clearly about what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah.
We have a hard time with that.
You realize we got to go through this for another 4 years now? May God have mercy upon America's soul.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's just like Jeremiah said in chapter 2, verse 32, can a bride forget her ornaments and a maid her attire? But my people have forgotten me, days without number. I believe that's what's happened to America. We have forgotten God and forgotten the principles of biblical ethics and implanted them in our hearts and our lives and individually and collectively as a nation. We are really lost at sea.
This is what happens when you destroy the family. When you okay children out of wedlock, when you okay men and women living together without being married, you destroy that family, it's easy for Satan to take over and do what he's done.
Right, right. And that's exactly what's happened. Our families have been destroyed, and we have allowed the government to do that, to destroy the family, to replace the father in the home, as you pointed out so eloquently so many times.
Yeah.
And we don't have a leadership because by transference, people consider their fathers at one point in their life to be as God.
Yeah.
And then now, but we've removed all of that. So we have no respect for God's authority. Right.
Bill, do you understand how this thing called electoral vote, how does that work? You have, I'm looking at this last night. You have most of I think it changed somewhat this morning though, but the population wanted Romney, the people wanted Romney, but the electoral vote went to Obama. Are you able to explain that?
Well, how all the mechanics of it works, no. But I do know, I think I understand somewhat about the principle of it, and that is the Founding Fathers did not want this to be a democracy. That's one of the things that, you don't hear much about, but they absolutely warned against a democracy, saying that it was the next step to tyranny. And that is just this next step over was tyranny. So what they wanted was the Electoral College instead of simply a popular vote. Because, after all, Hitler can sway most of the people some of the time or most of the time, and they did not want that because that generates a hostility in crowds, and you might be able to swing 51% and so forth, and then you have a democracy. So they did not want that. So they tried to remove that democratic process from it in the sense that they wanted a republic, a representative government. So that's the concept behind it.
Oh, okay. Really. So this electoral vote is a good thing.
I believe so. I believe the Electoral College is a good thing. I would not want to. I'm not in favor of scrapping it.
A lot of folks were, not a lot, but several people were texting me and emailing me last night. They were upset about the electoral thing. They were like, well, look at the population. They want Romney, but the electoral votes are against that. So, I'm glad to hear it's a good thing. I didn't understand it quite.
Well, it is hard to understand, really. And but I do think the Electoral College is a representative of a republic and not a democracy, because once you get into a democracy, if you can just sway the people, then you have 51%, and then that's it. I mean, and then it becomes a class warfare. And we've already got that going on, and I think they have really pushed that. So,
yeah,
I would not.
He did well with that, pushing the class warfare. Yeah. Bill, can I hold you over for one more segment?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. 888-775-3773. We're also going to take your calls, folks. 888-77. Jesse, the lines are smoking. Back in a moment.
Can it be a